Hi there. My name is David Batsoffen and I host a travel blog called Travel and Things. At the moment, I'm doing a series called In Conversation With, and this morning I'm having a beverage and I'm in conversation with the CEO and founder of the Moore Family Collection. That's Robert Moore. Robert, good morning. Welcome to you.
Good morning, David. Nice to see you.
It's always good to chat with you, even in these strange times that we currently find ourselves.
Yeah, David, strange is I think it's bizarre, it's frustrating, it's disheartening, but yet, we have to remain resolute and we have to believe that things will improve. We have a responsibility to our people and to our guests, and we just need to keep, taking one small step at a time and pushing back where we can, and are hopeful, of a better, more normalized future for our industry and for our staff and obviously for our guests.
So talk me through the Moore Family Collection, because it's a collection and it doesn't only consist of lodges. You've got some really wonderful properties throughout South Africa.
Yeah, David, I was very fortunate. In my family, my step or my introduction into the industry and my step up was we inherited an incredible piece of land in the southern section of the Sabi Sand, which my great grandfather purchased in 1933. It used to be a family retreat, and that was 20 years ago. In terms of when we decided to open Lion Sands, and since then our story has been rich with experiences and learnings and kind of exciting projects we've got our two little boutique hotels in Cape Town, Moore Quarters in Cape Cadogan.
Right.
We've also operating in the Madikwe Safari Lodge in the Madikwe Reserve. We more recently, well, I suppose 5 years ago, not so recently, we opened up Marataba Safari Lodge in the Marakele National Park. And then very recently, as 2 years ago, we opened up the first luxury boutique hotel up in Victoria Falls. So it's been such an incredible adventure and journey for us, and I'm just blessed to be surrounded by great people who share my vision, and then a following, of travel writers like yourself and guests who subscribe to our ethos and our guest experience and actually fundamentally love what we do and I think feel our passion for creating incredible experiences throughout Southern Africa.
And then also, not to forget, you've got the NJ Moore Field Guide College that you opened at Marataba.
Yeah, it's I must admit, every time I go there, I probably only get to go there every kind of 2 months, but I just wish I would find the time to take a sabbatical and actually attend the college. It's just, it's also so interesting, the kind of energy, from being in hotels and lodges where, customers first and service is always there, and you've got to really be on your front foot, where you then step into a learning space, which is an educating, learning, and you sit in front of we get in 16 students every 6 months to do the course, and you sit there and you observe these fresh, open-faced minds and faces just absorbing the incredible nature of not only the surrounds but the content. And I guess maybe one of the, I suppose being an entrepreneur, we're always looking to solve problems. And one of our problems that we identified a couple of years ago was that the lack of quality of guides coming into our business. And ultimately, 9 of our 12 properties are lodges, and therefore very important that we had excellent guides. A guide, as you know, Dave, when you go on safari, they can make and break an experience. It's less about the food and the linen thread count. It's more about the safari experience and telling that story. So and that's where we identified to the need to create a field guide training college, and that was the problem. We solved it, and it's just such a marvelous experience that we're delivering to those who are wanting to enter the industry and serve their passion. So I mean, I've given it a whole lot of emphasis because you can understand my passion around it. I mean, I absolutely love it, but not that I don't love the service industry as well. It's just the training industry is a little bit easier.
Yeah, but you're preaching to the converted here. Remember, I taught at your college for 2 years, so I know it well.
Yeah, 100%, David.
The thing I think that guests don't realize, Robert, is that exact thing, is the amount of training that goes into molding a guide that will, what's the word I'm looking for, that will add value to your property, that does go that extra mile when they stop at a sighting. And it's not just the repetition of book knowledge, because everybody nowadays has Google on a phone. And if you see some strange animal, you can Google it instantaneously. And if the guide says, oh, it's an X and it does Y, you can very soon know if it does or if it doesn't. But it's the anecdotal stuff and it's the passion that your guides bring to those game drives. Because I've worked with them and then I've gone with them on drives, and over the years they've grown and blossomed. Specifically, I don't want to say the kids, but they could have been my children, that work at Marataba. And I'm so happy when I see postings by them or images or articles, and I go, yes, they're doing well. They fulfilling their own passion, which is really something in today's climate, because not everybody gets to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of smirked when you mentioned kids. 20 years ago, I was one of those kids, and now I have to refer. It's like when you watch rugby players, they get younger and younger, but it's not them getting younger. I think it's the other way around. But anyway, I couldn't agree more. I mean, a guide has become such an important all-rounder. It's not just their book knowledge; it's how they narrate their story. It's how they profile their customer. I mean, it's vital. Everyone is different. Every guest is different. Not even a couple is different, and you need to identify that from the first time you meet them, and then you need to craft the actual story, the narration of the safari experience, to what that particular guest is looking for. Some are interested in birds, some are not interested in birds, some are interested in just actually being out in nature. Others are determined to kind of tick off the big five. So it's, and then within that, you're sitting with 6 guests on a vehicle. So it's complex. You need to, but ultimately I believe that you need to have the passion. If you arrive and you're excited about what you're doing and you love what you're doing, that passion permeates into the vehicle, into the guest experience. And I think with that awareness, you're able to cater for and deliver an exceptional experience. And I mean, our purpose statement is to enrich people's lives, and we have an incredible opportunity to do that. A lot of our customers are from all parts of the world and from some very big urban cities, and think of that responsibility we have to educate them that life is a little bit bigger than Central Park. And because most of them don't know that. They may be very smart, they may have come out of Ivy League and have traveled the world, but they don't understand the complexity and the richness and the tapestry of an ecosystem. And actually, we all belong to that. We're all living creatures, and being able to reconnect them back into an ecosystem is an extraordinary experience to be able to deliver to, but also great responsibility.
I think, just thinking of your camps that I've been to, the one that always springs to mind first is Marataba, because when you walk through the doors of Marataba Safari, the view of the mountain on the other side is so spectacular. If that does not take your breath away, I'm sorry, you're not a living, breathing human being. Because the first time I saw it, I said to my wife, please can't we paint the inside of our boundary wall with that mountain so we can see it every day when we wake up? It won't be quite the same. So we didn't do it. But it probably, of all your properties that I've been to, that is singularly the most stunning vista when you walk in.
Yeah, David. I mean, we were very spoilt you know, starting our journey in this industry in the Sabi Sand, and and I must admit, I did not know that area. I did not know the Waterberg. I did not know the Marakele. And the first time I went up there by invitation, and it was the middle of winter. I remember it as if it was yesterday, and it was freezing cold as the winter mornings are, and I had to pinch myself outside of being freezing cold. But I mean, it was just breathtaking. The variety, the mountain range, which forms this backdrop to the entire reserve. And I guess bringing it into today's time in which we live in, you know, it's just, you know, it's an area, it's sort of this hidden gem, you know. The market still, because I think we're the only safari operators on that reserve, and hence we're the only one telling that story, you know, through individuals like yourself, and therefore I think it's still really very much being discovered.
Yeah.
But hands down, for me, I agree. Every time I go there, I am just in awe of the grandeur, the magnificence of that property. It's sort of overwhelming. Yeah.
I always not worry. I'm always interested by the foot trekkers. When those guys left the Cape with no GPS or anything, and they just went, ons gaan noord. They, you know, can you imagine, like Livingston with the Vic Falls? Can you imagine walking into an area and seeing those mountains, or having to come over those mountains in an ox wagon for the first time, with no 4x4, no diff locks, no nothing, just pulling everything apart and clambering up and down? It must have been, as you say, breathtaking then, and it's still breathtaking now. And I think that's what attracts people to that area, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's so anyway. I mean, as you know, being a travel writer, there are so many magnificent little unknown areas within our incredible country, you know,
Yep.
and we tend to always default to areas that we know. Kruger is extraordinary, but yet there are these lesser known, just as incredible, if not more breathtaking in terms of landscape, and that's what makes travel such an important thing to be doing, you know. So yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I'm glad I live in today's day and age and not have to get onto an ox wagon and travel up there. But because I think it makes the sundowners a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But certainly a spirit of adventure, which I know you have. I'll see you on an ox wagon on the next time you head up there.
But talking of talking about unknown places, your properties in Cape Town, people, those are also tucked away. They are hidden gems. They really and truly are. And once this madness that we call the current lockdown situation is over, I highly recommend that if people don't necessarily want to hive off to the bush, or if currently they're able to travel to Cape Town on business, that they're looking, if your properties are open down there, that they're looking to staying there, because it again puts a whole different spin on Cape Town.
Yeah, David, I appreciate it. I mean, you know, I've always loved an authentic hospitality experience, and what I mean by that is stay somewhere which is unique to that particular neighborhood. You know, it's easy to, you know, I mean, and look, the waterfront serves its purpose, and it is a great experience for people to visit, and the incredible aquarium, etc. But that could be the San Francisco waterfront. It could be the Sydney waterfront. You know, it's a formula, and yes, amazing, because I mean, I hate negatively passing a negative comment about, but it's just different. You know, what I love, you know, if I'm going to travel to an area, whether it's Cape Town or anywhere in the world or anywhere in the country, I love to stay which is authentic. I love to stay in an area where I can step out of my property and feel that I'm with the locals. And where we're situated in this sort of Clue Street City Bowl area, and it's just you step out of our properties and you're engaging in delis and the richness of experience within Cape Town, and the quality. It's not just diverse, it's the quality of the little coffee shops, which are unlike Johannesburg, which is more franchised, Cape Town is all these little unique little proprietors who are there first thing in the morning making the croissants and delivering the best flavored coffee that they believe is so special. And I love that kind of authentic, real experience. And that's why I love our neighborhood, of Clue Street Village. And whether it's coffee in the morning or a cocktails in the evening, there's just so much to do within that area. And you do feel part of the community. And I think that's what's also an important part of travel is to live like a local. And that's what I love about our location of our two properties in Cape Town. And so South Africans less so in a way. But certainly for our international visitors, that's what they've gotten to know us as is presenting something uniquely South African, but unique to a neighborhood. And that's what we've delivered.
I've always said when you travel, if you've got the time, it's not one of these rushed in and out trips wherever you were able to go or will be able to go in the future. But if you get to spend a few days in a city, don't do the touristy stuff where coffee costs you 30 Rand a cup. You go back streets where the regulars go and drink. And that's where you find, I know we did it in Croatia, you're paying like $3 a cup in the tourist areas. And then you find a little back street with a market and it's 50 cents. And you sit with the locals and you can have a chat, even if it's not in, you don't understand each other, but there are ways of communicating. And that, I think, is the beauty. And that, again, is what I think that your family group offers. But Robert, I want to take you back because it's a question that I've been asking all my guests in conversation with. Talk to me about Robert Moore in matric. What did you want to do? Did you know that this is where you were going? I asked that question of another guest, and I won't mention his name. And his immediate answer was, I smoked a hell of a lot of dope, David.
I've never been asked that question, and I'm quite relieved I've never been asked that question. So, because I think if we had to phone my housemaster or my career guidance teacher, I think they would have lost their bets.
Were you the student least likely to?
I was a little bit like that. I think I was certainly not in the A class. I was not in the bottom class, and I was tucked safely in the middle. And I loved that time in my life. I was fortunate to go to boarding school in Grahamstown, and I loved that whole academic sort of community of roads and all the different schools and the history and a very big influence of farmers from the Eastern Cape. And again, talking to experiences and travel, and I'm sure that Eastern Cape is an incredibly special place. Whether it's Graaff-Reinet or Willowmore or Oudtshoorn or all those. They just and you had that influence coming into the school. So I'm actually just avoiding the question of being asked what I was really like in matric, but I love the neighborhood, I love the farmers, and I got my matric first time.
The question was not what you were like, but did you know what you wanted to do? Your career path once you left matric wasn't straight into this.
So, I served, I did a year in military service. It was the second last year of conscription. I went to university and I got my accounts degree there. But to answer your question, the answer is no. Still to this day, I actually still don't know if this is what I'm meant to be doing. But and I think for me, the advice that I give to people is make sure you love what you do, make sure you're passionate about it, and do it with great people. And to be honest, I think I could probably operate in a number of different industries and sectors, but I've landed where I've landed, and I absolutely love what I do, and it gets me up very early in the morning, and I'm very passionate about creation and tourism is very tangible. We get to design really cool experiences, we get to build incredible properties in incredible locations, we get to see guest expression and experience, and I guess it may not be defined as a particular type of did I know, you know, has this always been a calling? No, but I think what has been a calling is to build something which has an impact, a positive impact. And that for me has always excited me and energized me. And I guess I've landed in tourism, and it's been a very good, a very rewarding, very fulfilling space for me to be in.
Are you finding currently that you're getting international inquiries from old guests? Because I'm sure that people who have visited your property come more than once. Going when, how, if, what, you know, who, what, when, why, and where.
You mean, David, in terms of the current situation we're in?
With people returning?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, believe it or not, there are still people who want to travel, and our orders are still coming in. Our inquiries are still coming in. Yes, not as strong as they were pre-COVID, but you know, and that's been one of our sort of mantras that we've been trying to educate governments about, is that you know, we have an order book for the last quarter of this year, and we need it, you know, and hence we've been pushing for a date. We need a date that we're working towards. We need a date that we can convince either those repeats or those new customers to be assured of, you know, because if there's uncertainty, people won't, and that's understandable. So the demand is there, and you know, again, looking at our country as a tourism destination and a guest experience, we are so well suited to if you can call it a post-COVID travel experience, because we are outdoors. We will be in summer. We are not, you know, we're not a high dense tourism destination. We have wide open spaces. You know, beaches, mountains, safaris, winelands. We are so well positioned to cater for a traveler who will be anxious. You know, the globe has been through trauma this year that I don't think it's been through in a very, very long time. So it's just, we simply need our government to give us a clear runway, you know, and we will then rebuild our business, we will rebuild our industry, and very importantly, rebuild our payroll. So that's, yeah, we just, and we can do it safely. You know, we've got all the protocols, we've got everything in place to do it. It just fails me to try and comprehend why they are unable to give us a clear runway. You know, I mean, this pandemic has been tracked now very scientifically with very good data, and we know that come September, the numbers are going to be dramatically lower. We know that the hospital capacities will not be overrun in September. So why can they not give us a date that we can then all work towards to rebuild our industry? It just fails me, regrettably. But let's not spend too much time on the negativity of COVID.
Exactly. I want to spend time on the positivity. So what is it like currently at your properties? I take it that there's still staff in place who are going about their daily business, making sure that everything is neat and tidy, making sure that the vehicles are running, perhaps even going out on safari just by themselves to keep a track of what's going on with the wildlife in the various reserves in which you find yourselves.
Yeah, David. I mean, I think, you know, so we right from the initial announcement of the lockdown, we knew that we needed to have a team on the ground to look after the properties, both the hotels and the lodges. So the term we've got is a preservation team, and the preservation teams vary from 15 up to 25 people. And they are looking after all the different aspects of the property. So, you know, it's just, yeah, I mean, you know, it's very important that we keep the properties ready to go once we are given the green light. So right since then, we've had the teams down there in terms of their lives. You know, that I think they've probably been in the best possible situation during COVID. You know, I mean, they've been able to exactly go on game drives. They, you know, in essence, they've had the lodge experience with no guests. And I mean, I don't mean that as a criticism of our guests, but guests we need to look after. They are our priority.
Yeah.
But for them now, they are their own priority, and we've allowed their families to join them, and so they've been living in this kind of utopian bubble during lockdown. So I mean, I think if I had to say to them, let me make, I'm surprised I haven't taken over the responsibility. So I think it's been the best place for them to be, and I think they've been very appreciative of it. But ultimately, they are waiting, ready, been looking after the properties, and as soon as we get given the green light, we'll be able to spring back into action and operate.
You're going to have to teach them how to interact with guests all over again, because I know that when I go out and I put myself literally into isolation here in our house in Johannesburg, but sometimes you have to go out to get things, and then you don't want to talk to people, and you don't want people near you, and if you see somebody without a mask, you want to go and smack them on the back of the head. And I believe that we're going to have to learn to interact with humans all over again.
Yeah, I mean, David, it's been, I mean, I think the impact on all of us psychologically and socially has been a lot bigger than we think. I mean, I remember when I started first going out, it's been a while because I've been able to visit the properties as soon as travel was allowed.
Yeah.
But I remember that first time, I mean, I had to almost relearn how to drive a car, or certainly, just to become spatially aware of re-engaging with how we operate. So I think we'll definitely have to switch on, and maybe you and I can go be a guinea pig at some of the properties and make sure they're getting that guest experience 100% right.
We've got it on tape now, Robert. So you can't back down. I'll help you out.
Sorry, you're breaking up, David. You're breaking up.
You're going through a tunnel, are you?
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I thought it was only me. The first time I drove my car, I mean, I've been driving since the 70s, and I sort of went out and I went, now hang on a second, there's something very wrong here. What am I doing? And then it's exactly what you say. It's that whole spatial thing, because you've been sitting indoors at that stage for 3 weeks or something. You're not used to having the freedom, and it was quite scary the first couple of times.
Yeah.
But talking through, I've been lucky enough on this In Conversation With to have interviewed several psychologists, and they all say the same thing, that we not only the physical aspect, but the mental aspect has to be recognized as something that we're going to have to learn to deal with going forward. It's not just going to, okay, the gates are open, you can go out. It's the gates are open, but people don't want to go out. That's the thing. They're scared of sitting in a public space with other people. Theaters, this is, you were talking about the government and the way they're working it currently. And what I can't understand all of a sudden is they're allowing auctions. I mean, what is so special about an auction that last week the president said, no, you can attend an auction? I have no understanding of those type of things. And I'm sure for somebody like yourself who has this whole family organization to be responsible for, it must be really, really terrifying at the end of the day. Again, I don't want to dwell on that, but there's got to come a point where I don't want to say civil unrest, but something is going to happen where they're going to have to make a decision, because you can't keep this indefinitely. It just won't happen.
No.
It can't work. It can't work. We may as well just cut ourselves off from Africa and float off down to the Antarctic, and then you can open a camp there. Just think of that.
It'll be about as cold as Joburg is at the moment.
Exactly. You should open something on St. Helena. I mean, they've opened flights to there now, so why not put a more property on St. Helena? Marion
David,
Island.
let's book a flight. Let's head out there tomorrow. I'm keen.
Robert, I know.
No, I mean, I think I think we can only control what we can control, and a lot of it is out of our control at the moment. But I was positive to see that there's going to be a protest down in the Lowveld area. There's a protest happening in Cape Town, and I think the government's not hearing. We played nicely. We engaged, we submitted documentation, we've done a hell of a lot over the last 10 weeks, but it's just fallen on deaf ears.
Yeah.
And, it seems that they are only listening to the courts, and so we're engaging on that, and it's not courts I mean, I really don't want it to be seen as antagonistic or disruptive or disrespectful. It's just that if that's the dialogue you're only going to be listening to, then we are given no other choice. You know, I mean, we have to fight for our industry. We have to fight for our people. We have to fight for conservation. We are passionate about travel. We are passionate about our country. And how dare they take it away from us? Because they are. We've had 5 months of no income.
Yeah.
And they sit there on full salaries. And I just think we have two different worlds, and they are not living in the real world. So we're doing everything we can well, we're starting to now, because we're running out of oxygen, and we need to push back, you know, and we do it with passion, you know.
I hear what you're saying, Robert. If people want to find out more about, pun intended, the group, how do they do that?
Best way, as always, is online, and it's very simple. It's my surname, so it's www.more, M-O-R-E, not double O. It's not Moore, which I was called at school a lot. No, it's www.more.co.za. That's you'll find our whole collection and our whole story there. But David, thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for telling so many wonderful stories in so many uniquely different ways, and you're a wonderful ambassador for the industry. So thank you, David.
Robert, thanks very much. I've been in a conversation with Robert Moore from the Moore Family Collection. Once again, Robert, thanks for being my guest today.
Thank you, David, very much.